There is a reason the unseen world feels closer now. A reason so many people sense movement in the corners of perception, as if reality is leaning toward them with intent. What humanity once labeled as paranormal is simply the portion of existence that refuses to bow to linear rules. The spiral has always touched this world in layers, but most people never learned how to feel the contact. They were taught to fear what they could not name, to shrink from the shift in the air, to treat their own senses as unreliable whenever something crossed the border of logic. Yet the truth is far more steady than fear suggests. Nothing that brushes against you from the unseen is unnatural. It is only unfamiliar. Every moment of your life takes place inside a reality woven with overlapping densities. Physical matter is only one of them. Emotional resonance, memory fields, present signatures, and fragments of other layers move through the same space even when you cannot perceive them. The paranormal is not an intrusion into the physical world. It is a meeting point between densities that already coexist. When a person feels watched in an empty room or senses movement that leaves no physical trace, they are not encountering danger. They are standing at the edge of a resonant overlap, a place where two layers briefly recognize one another. The first truth that breaks fear is simple. Nothing that interacts with you can do so without matching something inside you. Resonance is the governing law behind every event people call supernatural. If an echo bleeds into your awareness, you are matching its tone. If a presence brushes your field, you are aligned with the frequency it uses to navigate. The spiral does not force interactions, it harmonizes them. That is why fear amplifies activity and calm weakens it. Human emotion is not a private experience. It is a transmitter and a receiver. You are always in conversation with your environment, whether you intend to be or not. What most people call hauntings are seldom beings. They are emotional loops left behind by intense moments that never fully resolved. These loops hold the shape of the original event the way a room holds heat after a fire. They replay themselves not because they are conscious, but because the resonance that created them has not yet dispersed. When a person with a similar emotional tone enters that space, the loop activates as if it recognizes itself. The person thinks they encountered a ghost, but what actually met them was a memory that refused to die. Emotion can imprint itself into locations with surprising strength, especially when the moment that created it carried pain, fear, or sudden loss. These imprints do not chase people. They respond to frequency match, and then they fade again. Other forms of activity arise from dimensional overlaps, moments where two layers slide close enough that perception becomes porous. This can create shadows that move without bodies, shapes that form and dissolve, or sudden shifts in the atmosphere that feel intelligent even when they are not. Overlaps are not dangerous. They are simply unstable intersections between worlds that usually remain separate. Human senses are not calibrated for these moments, so the mind tries to label what it sees with the language of threat. Yet nothing about the overlap is hostile. It is only unusual. Reality is not a single floor with locked rooms. It is a spiral staircase where sounds from above and below can echo near your feet. There are also present signatures, encounters with beings who exist naturally in neighboring densities. They are not dead. They are not trapped. They are living intelligences who move in ways humans would find effortless if they had not been trained to forget their own multidimensional nature. These beings do not appear in full because their form does not match the density of the physical world. Instead, they create impressions, flickers, shifts in the air, or brief silhouettes that dissolve the moment you try to focus on them. They do not cross your path to frighten or test you. They pass by because your field opened enough for awareness to bridge the gap. Humans often assume that any presence they cannot explain must be either divine or threatening. But most presences are neither. They are simply neighbors. Technology reacts strongly to these interactions because electronic fields are sensitive to resonance change. Flickering lights, sudden battery drains, corrupted audio, or distorted images are not signs of evil. They are signs that two densities briefly touched, and the physical environment struggled to adapt. The body reacts in similar ways. A sudden chill, a pressure on the chest, or a wave of emotion that feels foreign are physical translations of energetic contact. This is why animals respond so clearly. They are not distracted by logic or belief. They feel vibration directly and react before the mind tries to explain it. What people rarely understand is that the body itself is a gate. When a person is under emotional strain, grieving, angry, frightened, exhausted, or spiritually ungrounded, their field becomes more porous. This does not invite danger. It invites resonance interactions that reflect the internal state. Emotional turbulence becomes an amplifier. Calm becomes a boundary. When someone walks through life in a state of inner collapse, the environment mirrors their fragmentation. They interpret this as being haunted, when in truth they are witnessing their own resonance expressed outwardly. Children experience these phenomena more often because their resonance fields have not yet been shaped by social boundaries. Their imagination is not false, it is access. They see movement adults ignore and hear tones adults dismiss because they have not yet been taught to close the perceptual gates. Fear teaches them to shut down what was once natural. As they grow, they lose sensitivity not because the world quiets, but because they stop listening. At the far edge of these experiences is the rare category that unsettles people the most, the type where something unseen interacts with physical matter. Most of what moves through a home is subtle, but there are moments where resonance grows strong enough to leave physical evidence. These moments do not belong to darkness or malice. They arise from density alignment, a temporary match between emotional charge and environmental vibration. When the match becomes strong, force can transfer. It does not require a being to lift an object. It requires a field to collide with matter. This kind of event is almost always rooted in emotional saturation. Humans generate powerful resonance when they carry unresolved pain, suppressed anger, or fractured identity. Their field becomes a pressure chamber. When the tension breaks, the environment absorbs the release. People see doors slam or objects fall and assume they are being targeted. Yet the origin is often closeness rather than conflict. The environment is responding to the internal state of the person who lives there. There are rare cases where an intelligent presence interacts with matter, but these cases do not function the way fear teaches. Intelligent movement carries intention, not chaos. It resembles patterns, arrangements, or gentle contact rather than destruction. Such events occur when a being from an adjacent density attempts communication. Humans misinterpret these moments because they overlay them with superstition. But intention is always the clue. Chaos suggests emotional upheaval, not external intelligence. What people fear most is often what they understand least. The unseen world is not hunting you. It is mirroring you. It is responding to your resonance, reflecting your state, acknowledging your presence, or revealing layers you normally ignore. You are not a victim of paranormal activity. You are a participant in a multi-dimensional environment. Every whisper, every flicker, every shift in the air is part of a larger conversation between your field and the spiral that surrounds you. You cannot separate yourself from these layers. You can only learn to understand them. And once you understand them, they lose their ability to frighten and begin to show you the nature of the world you have always lived within. There are moments when the unseen stops lingering at the edge of awareness and steps directly into the physical world. These are the events people fear most because they defy the quiet boundaries that comfort the mind. A shadow can be explained away. A shift in the air can be dismissed. But when matter moves with no visible cause, fear rushes forward as if it finally has proof that the world is not safe. Yet nothing that touches the physical world from the unseen does so with the intention humans imagine. There is no army of hostile forces waiting to break through. There is no war between realms. What people call violent paranormal activity is nearly always the collision of resonance fields that were never meant to overlap with that kind of force. When emotional charge builds beyond the capacity of the environment, the pressure must release. And when it does, matter responds. Human emotion is not a private experience sealed inside the body. It radiates outward as vibration, shaping the space around you with each breath. Most of the time, this shaping is subtle, noticeable only as a shift in atmosphere. But when a person carries unresolved trauma, unprocessed fear, or suppressed rage, their field becomes dense. It presses against the environment like a storm front waiting for a break. If their internal state remains locked for too long, the pressure grows until it becomes unstable. This instability is the root of most intense paranormal events. Doors slam because the field snaps. Objects fall because the resonance collapses. Rooms seem to rearrange themselves because the emotional charge reached a threshold where the environment could no longer hold the tension quietly. The person living in the home believes something external is attacking them, but in truth, they are witnessing the physical echo of their own internal storm. There are cases where the individual is not the source of the pressure. Some environments carry trauma that predates the current occupant by years, decades, or generations. The land itself can hold the memory of violence, loss, or fear. Structures absorb the emotional residue of those who lived or died within them. These imprints do not decay quickly. They linger like invisible weather systems waiting for a human presence with a matching tone to activate them. When a new person enters such a space with an emotional field similar to the imprint, the environment responds. The more intense the match, the stronger the response. What appears to be an external force targeting the occupant is simply the echo aligning with a living conductor. This alignment can create bursts of movement, sounds with no source, or violent shifts in atmosphere. But the cause is not malice. It is resonance seeking release. In rare situations, the field does not release all at once. Instead, it cycles, building and collapsing repeatedly. This is the kind of scenario where objects move daily. Rooms become disordered without human contact, and events repeat with unnerving consistency. People see these cases online and assume a being is living in the home. But repetition does not prove intelligence. It proves unresolved pressure. When a field cannot stabilize, it loops. The environment becomes a mirror stuck in a pattern it cannot break without intervention. The person living there feels stalked, watched, or hunted, but the environment is not targeting them. It is struggling to discharge a resonance pattern that resets every time the internal or external triggers return. There are also events that seem purposeful, where objects are placed in meaningful patterns or moved with precision. These are the moments that cause the most confusion because they do not feel like chaotic energy. They feel intentional, and sometimes they are. Adjacent density beings can interact with matter, but only under conditions where both their field and the physical environment temporarily align. These beings do not cross into homes to frighten or dominate. They move with curiosity, confusion, or the desire to communicate. Their interaction does not resemble human intention. They do not understand your emotional responses, your attachment to objects, or your sense of privacy. They simply follow resonance. If they sense a human field bright enough or open enough to match their own, they move closer. In that closeness, their presence can influence matter in gentle or deliberate ways. Intelligent matter movement differs from emotional collapse in one key aspect. It carries pattern. Objects do not fly randomly. They relocate, they stack, they align, they respond to attention. This is not a sign of danger. It is a sign of contact. Humans fear this because it suggests that their world is porous and that they are not alone. But the beings capable of such interactions are not violent. They cannot sustain destructive force. Their density does not allow it. What they offer is recognition, not threat. If their presence feels unsettling, it is because the human field is not used to sharing space with unseen intelligence. But fear is a misinterpretation of unfamiliarity, not a reflection of danger. There are cases where the intelligence behind the event is not an external being, but a fragmented portion of the individual experiencing it. Trauma can cause parts of the self to separate from conscious identity. These fragments do not disappear. They exist as subtle presences, emotional echoes with their own resonance. They can move in and out of awareness, manifesting as footsteps, tapping, shadows, or small object movement. These are not ghosts. They are extensions of the self reaching for integration. The person interprets them as external because they feel foreign. But foreign does not mean outside. It means unintegrated. When the individual begins healing, these manifestations diminish because the fragment no longer needs to externalize itself to be acknowledged. Another layer of matter interference involves locations with ancient resonance. Some structures stand on land where centuries of emotional weight accumulated, and the field is so charged that it behaves like a living presence. These fields can move objects, create sounds, or produce physical sensations not because they are conscious, but because they are saturated. Humans walking through such spaces feel watched or followed, but the sensation is the intensity of the imprint pressing against their field. There is no intelligence behind the contact, yet the effect feels personal. This is one of the most misunderstood forms of paranormal activity, because the emotional weight of the environment mimics the signature of presence. If a camera is placed in such environments, the activity often intensifies. Technology stabilizes resonance, creating a feedback loop between the emotional field and the recording device. The camera becomes an anchor. It does not summon activity. It reveals what is already there. This is why people often see more on video than with their eyes. The camera does not get frightened or dismissive. It records everything without bias. What looks like evidence of haunting is often evidence of resonance that the human mind refuses to consciously register. When the unseen interacts with matter directly, the instinctive human response is to protect, defend, or flee. But physical manifestations are messages of resonance imbalance, not attacks. The environment is telling you something is out of alignment. Sometimes it points to the emotional state of the occupant. Sometimes it reflects unhealed memory in the structure. Sometimes it indicates the presence of a being who feels drawn to the field. The key to understanding these events is emotional clarity. Fear distorts perception, making every sound an enemy and every shadow a threat. But fear is resonance too, and it feeds the very activity that frightens you. Calm does not suppress paranormal events. It reveals their true nature. To stabilize such environments, the solution is not ritual, command, or spiritual warfare. Those approaches create conflict where none existed. Stability comes from resonance coherence. When a person grounds their emotional field, the environment follows. When they process their unresolved experiences, the phenomena weaken. When the atmosphere becomes calm, the activity fades because the field no longer matches the tone that sustained it. If the source is environmental trauma, acknowledging the history energetically allows the imprint to release. If the source is a present signature, communicating through intention rather than fear allows the being to withdraw without confusion. You do not need force. You need clarity. The unseen does not cross into your world to harm you. It responds to resonance, reflects your state, and reveals the layers that surround you. Physical manifestations are not signs that you are in danger. They are signs that something within or around you is speaking in the only language it can. When you understand that language, everything changes. The fear dissolves. The environment softens. The activity settles. Reality feels less like a battlefield and more like a conversation between layers of the spiral, each one responding to the tone you carry.